shout out to you, O'Milly, for coming through, helping me host OMI Hour Reloaded. I was smart enough to launch it on a mobile device this time, based on the feedback I got last month. So everyone should be able to flash up those emojis and participate a little bit more in the chat and stuff. So hopefully this goes well. I'm sure you got some questions that you've curated from the community, and we'll roll it out. Obviously we have some stuff that we can talk about as well. No crazy alpha or anything. This is meant to be a Q&A, answer any questions the community may have and stuff, but sometimes people ask questions in the right way and things tend to they spill out a little bit, and it just is what it is. So we'll get it going. If you have any questions or anyone in the audience has got anything, we can get it going. I was in the OMI red carpet space just prior to you launching, and I know someone who's kind of new to the community was asking, about what the OMI token was. We can always start with that as well. But if you have anything, you just let me know.
I would actually love, and especially for the recording, shout out to everybody listening back to the recording later, all our UK people. I know you guys are asleep. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we should start with that, Foster. Just explain to them what OMI is. We are starting to get quite a few new people from, from some of my other spaces and just our other different communities out there who are kind of chilling in the VV spaces. So, you heard it yourself. Could you please tell us what OMI is?
Absolutely. So the technical definition is the OMI token is the utility token for the VeVe digital collectibles ecosystem. But for a lot of people that don't know what VeVe is or have never heard of OMI before, that obviously doesn't do it a lot of justice. So, OMI obviously has an absolute fantastic following, fantastic community. Everyone, even if you scroll through this chat right now, you see all the red circles. And so the red circle represents the OMI token, and OMI is meant to be a cryptocurrency that allows you to purchase VeVe digital collectibles. And for those of you that don't know what VeVe is, you've never heard of the VeVe digital collectibles platform before. They've partnered with hundreds of the biggest brands and IP in the world, everything from Disney to Marvel to Star Wars, Star Trek, Jurassic Park, Lamborghini. Just announced Maserati just last week. High end, music collectibles, comics, and anything and everything in between. So the OMI token was created with the original utility of allowing people to utilize it to buy and sell the collectibles in the ecosystem. And as I'm sure we'll get to in this space now later this evening, we've made some fantastic strides recently in the last couple months with OMI to NFT, and have made some great progress. And our beta testers have given us a ton of fantastic feedback. Shout out to Stacker, the marketplace platform that is also allowing the OMI token to be utilized on it. And for those of you that hold OMI or know what OMI was previously, you'll know that having OMI tokens in the VeVe Digital Collectibles ecosystem allows you to earn a ton of great rewards, just from holding the OMI token and doing nothing outside of that. Earning your bronze tickets, earning your exclusive airdrops, earning your bonus MCP, and really just goes part and parcel with the VeVe Digital Collectibles ecosystem. So something that's been kind of rejigged over time to make sure that it can work the way that we intend it to, and future proof the token and make sure that it has longevity. But yeah, it's a really cool utility token, and it's got a great following and community. And shout out to everyone that's here right now representing.
Hell yeah, great stuff. By the way, guys, Foster, it's okay if someone has a question to request to come up.
Absolutely, man. It's a Q&A.
Okay.
It wouldn't make for a very good Q&A if no one can ask questions. So
Yeah,
I'll do my
please,
best to
please.
answer anything that I can. Obviously, there's certain things that I may not be able to answer, but yeah, the entire point is, if anyone has any questions about what's going on with ECOMI or the OMI token, they're looking for clarity or to understand something that we've already released. They have a question about something that they're hoping to see, brought forward. It's something that we can touch base on and make sure that everyone's aware of what's going on.
Perfect. Now, in case someone cannot come up, if you look at the bottom right of the screen, you see the little comment box. If you click on that, you'd be able to ask your question right in these comments. We don't have like a live chat like YouTube right now. I think Elon will, have that coming at some point. But for now, if you hit that little button, you'll be able to ask a question just in case, it's dinner time or you're still at work or something. If you put it in there, I will make sure we ask it for you. And our first guest is up here. And by the way, Pudding Cheeks, you want to add anything here? You
I'm
ready to
just
go?
here soaking it all in, and I'm back up. I told Foster I'm here just to support him and make sure he
Okay,
doesn't mess
perfect.
up.
And just
Is it
so
just me, or did he miss the perfect opportunity to say, "I'm just here so I don't get fined"? I'm
I
just saying.
really
It was.
I really thought he might. I
I
thought
thought
he
he
might.
might
Practice,
too, but
man. We're talking about practice.
Oh, beautiful. That makes up for it. And hopefully not wearing disgusting Daisy Dukes, but that's for another day.
Them bouncy balls.
The the superstar money team is here. Our first guest. What's up, guys?
Hey guys, it's Superstar Rob here. I appreciate you.
What's up,
Welcome.
Rob?
Everything's going well. Hope everything's going well on your end. I think it's a great idea that you guys did this AMA. So thanks for hosting it. We've done a few videos speculating about like the future of the OMI token. Going way back, Foster, you're talking about like the original beginnings of it, how it was intended to buy VeVe digital collectibles and kind of be like the token within that ecosystem. I guess things have changed, right? Because of the regulations. We know that there's been it's a changing landscape from all these years. Is there any intention to provide, let's say, another roadmap? Because we had one before. We had Puddin Cheeks on the channel, some pretty cool slides, kind of indicating all the different burn streams. And I've been kind of relying on that on my burn videos. But is there going to be any other further guidance on like how, like, what has changed from the original kind of description of how we were going to see like the burn streams?
yeah, great question, Rob, and thanks for coming up. And obviously, shout out to you and Joe for all the videos that you guys put out in the community. You guys are machines, putting out daily content every single day. So, yeah, it's a great question. So, back in January of this year, we released an updated 2024 priorities list. Um, there's certain words that I find it becomes nuanced and people go, oh, well, why can't we just say it? So, for instance, the tokens that we've removed from the non-circulating supply, were permanently removed. Were they also burned? Yes, but we use permanent removal, right? So when we talk about, roadmaps, well, we have our priorities list. And in my mind, that's outlining the roadmap and priorities for 2024. So when you reference roadmap, in regards to the initial OUP, Puddin and the rest of the team did a fantastic job with creating that document, but there was a few problems with it. One, the first one being it was way too much information for any reasonable person to be able to digest. Even I remember, looking at it and back on it and going, wow, like I read that for 2 hours and still don't fully understand what's going on. And I think for anyone to want to be able to utilize the OMI token, it's about boiling it down to its simplest form, and that comes from the scope of accessibility and making sure that people can easily access it and that people can also easily utilize it. And if you need a, technical spec document that looks like it's actually meant to put together a SpaceX engine, then it's probably not going to be received very well in the mainstream. We see regularly when we put out, documentation, people don't even necessarily read beyond the title. And so a lot of times we'll get questions and the answers are actually just contained within the document and people just haven't had the opportunity to check it out. So, as far as roadmaps and updating people, on our priorities, you'll still see that moving forward, but what you will see generally is a much higher level scope when we're providing information. So it may not be the specific feature and exactly how it will function, but it will be the overarching theme of the utilities and accessibility that we're looking to do. Um, and there's a few reasons for that. The first one is we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. We want to make sure that we're doing the opposite, right? We want to make sure that we're under promising and over delivering. And part of allowing us to do that is by having that internal flexibility of not committing to a specific feature or a specific time frame for how something needs to function, so that if any regulatory issues come up or a plethora of other reasons that just may not make a specific feature set feasible for the project, we can make sure that as we communicate features for the OMI token, that it's in a position and we've done the legwork to ensure that when we announce the feature, we can release it in the way that we had, initially intended to do. So, it doesn't mean that the initial OUP that was put out, that everything that you saw on it originally was scrapped. I mean, you've already seen, bronze tickets come out. We've obviously seen OMI to NFT. So, that's still an overarching framework. It's just instead of giving it to everyone all at once, making it super overwhelming, and then people coming back to us in 6 months going, hey, why isn't this come yet, even though no time frame was provided. We can now release features as they become available. People can get familiarized with them. We can dedicate resources to make sure that they function correctly, and that they're being adopted and utilized as we would hope that they would. And then we can slowly trickle out features, every so often, at a regular cadence, to keep people engaged and interested in the project, and make sure that we continue to add further utilities for the token.
Okay, thanks for that, Foster. I got to add on. I got actually a few more, but like one thing, like speaking of the bronze tickets, that kind of caught me off guard was that one of the changes was that it would be offering utility through MCP. So we've done videos speculating about the whole Dapper settlement, which we think is something that a lot of the digital collectible, digital toy NFT companies are going to be very interested in. And it was interesting. It's not really directly the same, but it draws some similarities because you had VeVe and OMI, which was the NFT and the token kind of combined. So in their case, they separated, right? The flow token had to separate completely from their NFT projects. So are we seeing, like, is the future of OMI as it relates to VeVe going to be a rewards program basically on loyalty points? And I guess that would be like the MCP. Would that be the driving utility reward from staking so that you don't have a direct link to it? So what are your thoughts on that case and how it relates to the OMI token and its ability to provide utility, and your future plans of that?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think with the Dapper Labs lawsuit, the fact that they had their own blockchain, their own currency, and their own ecosystem. I think when everything operates, all at the same time, it certainly can pose certain regulatory or other legal concerns. And so when we look to make any decision about, rolling out utilities or ensuring that we are, maintaining compliance, there's a ton of considerations that go into anything. So I think there may have been a bit of concern when people had heard that we were moving to a self custody model at some point for their OMI tokens, and that their OMI would no longer be on the VeVe app. And I think people may have misconstrued that as, OMI would no longer give you rewards or utility on the VeVe app. And nothing could be further from the truth. So, when you reference bronze tickets as an example, utilizing OMI to purchase bronze tickets as a feature, right? And then using bronze tickets to redeem for master collector points. It feels like there's an extra step involved, and you'd be certainly right. There is that extra step involved, and the reason behind that pertains to regulations that don't even necessarily exist, features that don't necessarily exist, and the way that we need to operate within the ecosystem. So, by doing this in this specific way, we can ensure that we are compliant while still providing the ability for people to utilize their OMI tokens for rewards, and of course master collector points will be a huge mechanism in which people can look to benefit within the VeVe ecosystem. But as a byproduct of that, people will continue to earn, their daily MCP points, their seasonal MCP points, their bronze tickets, which they can redeem for additional MCP points. And there will be some other utilities that are introduced for the bronze tickets there at some point as well. But it's really meant to circle back to ensuring that people are still getting those utilities while still being able to utilize the OMI token. And then, of course, with Stacker coming out with their OMI to NFT marketplace, there'll be additional abilities and incentives that Stacker can offer as a platform. You know, whether they create OMI only drops or other specific utilities and rewards for utilizing the OMI token and providing those incentives. This is a system that we can look to fully flesh out and fully understand. What it is that the community is looking for when it comes to the rewards and utilities that they're looking to get from the OMI token, and then make sure that we can align those with the VeVe platform and what's being provided. So, when we provide that self-custody environment for the OMI token, which will come at some point, and people will be requested to move their OMI off of the VeVe app, it doesn't mean that you're not still earning rewards in the VeVe app because your account will still be synced via Stacker with the VeVe platform. So you'll still be earning, your bonus MCP points. You're still going to be earning those seasonal rewards, but it just adds that additional security of knowing that your tokens are now self-custodied and you control the keys to those tokens. And when we look at a Web3 environment, having that additional security is a very important step, and it's something that a lot of people have been asking us about for a long time. So by making this transition, it doesn't remove that utility from VeVe, but it accompanies it while still making sure that users are secure.
All right, thanks for that, Foster, because that was actually a perfect segue into my next question. One of the things that we thought was pretty cool about the OMI token was the ability to potentially be exclusive to the VeVe app. So we did a video recently talking about almost how it's feeling like it's ditched from the VeVe app, but it's not, because the OMI utility will still be given through a third party. But you will have that separation now, and we speculated that was all due to regulations, and that is part of the removal of the vault and the reserve wallet. But one of the questions that I had was, would this relate as well to the VeVeverse? One of the speculations I remember talking about a lot was, what if the VeVeverse had the OMI token as an exclusive cryptocurrency within that environment? We heard that there's supposed to be stores and purchases and things that you can do in there in terms of transactional transactions. If you want to buy, let's say, an accessory, a collectible, an item, is it possible that you can have OMI as the exclusive crypto within that environment, or will it be open to all crypto, and then like OMI would just get some added benefits, sort of like how it is now with the staking?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Obviously, we're not going to go too much into the VeVeverse utility because it's obviously something that has not, been announced publicly, and obviously the VeVeverse itself is not actually here yet. So it's not somewhere that I want to go, too far into the weeds on. Obviously, we, like I said, at the beginning, we look to announce utilities in features, kind of as they become available. But in regards to the exclusivity of the OMI token itself, on the Stacker platform for OMI to NFT, that is the primary currency that they are accepting. So that is the token that you're going to be utilizing to transact with VeVe NFTs, right? So that very much is important to us. And at some point, I don't know whether Stacker is going to begin to offer other currencies as an option to transact. But what I will say is, we've made it very clear that the buyer's fee, which is something that is charged with every transaction that takes place on the Stacker marketplace, which directly removes OMI from the circulating supply, that, in my opinion, would not change regardless of what token was transacted with on their marketplace for VeVe collectibles, right? So, even if they were to whatever reason accept, Ethereum or USDC or another token, it's not in the cards immediately. OMI is meant to be the primary and only token, but a few years down the road, if for whatever reason it does make sense to do that, that's something that they could revisit at that point. But either way, the buyer's fee would still be expected to be deducted and removed in OMI, which would still, provide that utility for the OMI token using it in the ecosystem. And then, of course, we have other projects, that exist that utilize the OMI token already. Whether it be Collective Shift, which educates users on crypto, and you do get some benefits to accessing it if you hold the OMI token. Tengoku, who have been developing a game for quite a while now, their hack and slash game, which I've had the ability to check out, is very cool. It will utilize the marketplace in OMI, and then Epico as well, who have been supporters of the project for quite a while as well. They have a marketplace that utilize the OMI token as well. So OMI being self-custodied off of VeVe doesn't remove the utilities for the OMI token on the ecosystem. But at the same time, there are several ways that people can utilize the OMI token currently. And, we'll always look to continue to expand those as well, even through, community initiatives, as I had mentioned earlier, with Emoji making his announcement just the other day with the burn to listen feature as well. So, there'll always be more ways to look to integrate and utilize the OMI token, but we're certainly not looking to remove it or take away its utility when it comes to VeVe collectibles at all.
Yeah, so I had a question, right? And it's kind of like based off of, so recently on the VeVe app, right? We had the whole thing with the MCP drop, and I'm talking about as far as with the 100K MCP drop, where you where you could craft it, the item, and get 100K MCP off of just doing that experience. And you know what it sounds like one of the reasons for that is because there are big plans down the line, or you know something where you're going to need MCP. So they're trying to get, I guess, more MCP into the system. Now my question is this: right now, we do, when it comes to the bronze tickets, really all we can do right now with them is to redeem them for MCP. But the scale at which you can, I mean, it's 15 per ticket, and it's a sliding downward scale. Looking at that ratio to what was perceived by VeVe to be needed to kind of like do something going ahead, would there be any type of tweaks or balances to that that bronze ticket redemption MCP side? Because it seems at this point it seems kind of like pointless to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest and very candid. I completely agree with you, and I'll let Adam to kind of maybe touch base on this a little bit as well in a moment because I think he's kind of got more background and expertise. But this comes down to, right. You can have your best laid plans, but then a change is made or something happens where you have to potentially look at retweaking or balancing a whole system, right? And so initially, um, you know tickets were, or not tickets, sorry, MCP points were going to expire every 6 months, right? So, with that intention, the way that the redemption worked for bronze tickets to getting additional MCP and potentially having let's say specific drop days, right, where being a certain rank is important for potentially getting access and things like that, right? So we're looking at a system that is really probably only 20% complete. And so when you look at it through the lens of, hey, redeeming 15 MCP points a day with a bronze ticket, I, only get, let's say, I use that in parentheses, 350 bronze tickets if I have only, 10 million OMI on the platform for an entire 3 months. But then, VeVe goes out and gives out 100,000 MCP points. Is it balanced? Is it whatever? Right. And so that's where, there's a lot of moving parts. And obviously, ECOMI and VeVe at the end of the day are separate entities. So, we kind of play in their sandbox, or sorry, we play in our sandbox, they play in their sandbox. But there needs to be that overlap in discussions about the balance, right? Is we want people to feel as though, utilizing the OMI token and earning these bronze tickets, that there's a point behind it. And then, of course, when you look at the utility for bronze tickets and see that the only thing that you can do with them currently is to redeem them for additional MCP, but there's not really a reason to redeem them for one-off, drop day MCP at this point. So you kind of look at it and go, well, why would I do that at all? And I'll be very candid with you. I agree. I would not use my bronze tickets right now if I didn't absolutely find the need to do it in that exact moment. I personally have not, outside of the tickets that I spent just to test out the system to make sure that it worked, I haven't spent any of my bronze tickets, and I will continue to hold my bronze tickets until such a time that I feel as though the utility that aligns with what I'm looking to get out of them is present, and I can utilize them, right? So, when it comes to a balance, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of competing priorities at times when it comes to making drops desirable and rewarding collectors, and balancing it against flippers, and then balancing it against people that hold the OMI token, and in kind of all of those moving parts. So it is an ongoing process. It is certainly something that will be revisited on a continual basis, and then as we roll out our seasonal rewards, updates will be provided as to whether balance changes have gone live or not. And so I'll let Adam, take a moment if he wants to add anything further. But it's definitely something we're aware of, and I agree with you, something that will need to be balanced and addressed at some point.
Yeah, just piggybacking on what Foster said there. So, bronze tickets will make a lot more sense later on when more things that they're used for become available. Um, in the beginning, when the balance was set, if you look at the amount of points you get and the reason it tapers off is because bronze tickets actually directly affect your MCP rank. So if you redeem, um, let's say that if they're all 15 points and you redeem 10 of them, you get 150 points. That's 150 points that counts directly to your MCP rank for that day. So as more features come out on the VeVe side, as well as on the bronze ticket side, it'll become a lot more clear And things that are already public, we're going to have OMI to bronze tickets where you'll be able to acquire them, not just from the seasonal rewards. So there is a cost associated with that. And I know our fam all too well. We like to tie a dollar value to everything, and that includes an MCP point. Well, sometimes when they do promotional things like the giveaway for crafting, I would look at that as an isolated incident where that was just something they wanted to do to help some users that might not have a lot of MCP points. They could have balanced that a little bit better, but I would look at that as an isolated incident and not the main driver of the whole program. So as more features of the bronze tickets become available, it'll start making a little more sense. And at that time, there will probably also be some tweaks to the balance of how fast the diminishing returns are on the redemption, things like that. All of that will be analyzed and taken into account by the teams when later on when that's more important. So primarily waiting for MCP rank based features, like where you have to be a certain rank to access something. Bronze tickets can be your catapult to get you there if you're just a little bit short. I hadn't looked lately to see what the differences are between the ranks, but let's say that you're a few hundred points away from a rank, and on the following day there might be a craft or a drop or just anything. I'm not saying anything specific, but it might say, hey, you got to be a diamond 1 or above or a master above to do this action. Bronze tickets right now would be your only way to get those MCP points for your rank outside of daily activities. So those are not fully useful yet for that until all of those features become available.
Awesome. I'll read a couple from the crowd. If anything's been covered already, just say that. Are discussions taking place with Big IP to integrate or at least support with OMI to NFT? Is that something you can answer, Foster?
Yeah, so I mean, for the OMI to NFT beta, the premise of the beta was to test out the functionality of the marketplace and not, allow for people to, get to take advantage of all of the IP that's available on VeVe and start trading them when, only a couple hundred people had access to it. And so we didn't want to create a have or have not, mentality or environment. So for the beta, we've significantly restricted the amount of available IP and brands that are available to be traded on the OMI to NFT marketplace, just to make sure really that the functionality works. Pick a couple, no percent secondary royalties, pick a couple 2%, pick a couple 6%, make sure that all the OMI is moving to the correct wallets, making sure that the smart contracts are facilitating things. And make sure that everything is working as intended. Make sure we can make listings, make sure we can remove listings and do all of that. But I think, as we roll out of beta, what I will say is I think that people will be quite happy with the, library or catalog or whatever you want to refer to it as of collectibles and things that will be available in the OMI to NFT marketplace. But, suffice to say, for many reasons, including Mr. Yu coming down and giving me the ban hammer there, I'm going to refrain from getting into any too specific situations. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we're aware that people want to be able to utilize the ecosystem and take full advantage of it. So only having 1 or 2 brands or licenses in there probably wouldn't tip the scale in any meaningful way. So, we've been working hard to make sure that that as many brands and IP as possible are going to be available for users to take advantage of the ecosystem.
Amazing. There you go, mains. Where can we go next? Will OMI be taken off the app at some point? Okay, I think we answered that. And guys, I see a lot of comments whenever a new announcement goes out, and there's a lot of misinformation sometimes, or just questions to follow up on whatever's been announced. I can't think of a better place to to come ask any questions just so you have clarity. So please don't be shy. Click that little request button on the bottom left, and we'll bring you up here. In the meantime, Superstar, another one, please go ahead.
All right, thanks, Millie. So, like, there's been a lot more, I guess, reserve in terms of the announcements. We haven't seen a lot of the same people. Like, we had a really good relationship with Reese. We still do. but he hasn't really been around for various reasons. Um, is there any changes on the ECOMI side, like in terms of the staff there? Like, is there? We know obviously Puddin's still around, but has there been any kind of shuffle? We saw on the VeVe side with Nestor leaving, and he, on his way out, he made a mention about how Dr. Profit is the only guy with the vision for OMI. So, like, has there been a change on the ECOMI side? And like, when Nestor said that, it made me wonder. We did a video about it, right? Like, he was the CTO, so he must have had a deep understanding of what was happening in the background. Like, what exactly do you think he meant by that? And is there any way that you can maybe, clarify whatever he was referring to? Like, do you have a plan in terms of dealing with things like that when someone internally, let's say, leaves and makes that comment? Just what are your thoughts? I think it's mainly directed at Foster for this one.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, everyone is entitled to their own personal opinion, and I would certainly not, go out of my way to attempt to correct anyone on how they feel about something. I mean, based on someone's experience, that may be how they feel. Now, what I will say is, in this specific, instance, this employee worked for VeVe, right, and was not dealing with OMI specific matters. So on a personal level, I found the comment a tad strange, but once again, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I'm certainly not going to, refute it or rebut it in a public place where they're not, present to speak on their feelings and create a discourse. But at the end of the day, I think one thing that I've learned personally since joining the company is um, it's never been about a lack of vision. Um, it's been about a lack of time in the day to complete the vision. And what I mean by that is, we have so many plans and so many things that we want to accomplish on the ECOMI side. And so it's just about, curating those resources to make sure that we have them available to deliver on those features. And so, sometimes I'll read comments, for instance, there's a subset of the community that doesn't even believe that the blockchain team exists. Right. And so I get a little chuckle out of that. And so, I know that people would like transparency, and we certainly work to be as transparent as we can, but also recognize and understand that in no other private company that exists would you be, providing names of or positions of specific employees that are not in public facing roles, right? So, I understand that we have a very passionate community, and they want information all the time, and I get it, right? I was in that position, and it's always good to have that peace of mind, and so I try and offer, what I can within kind of the confines of what I am permitted to speak on. But that's why I try and outline my personal experience and let people know, what I've been working on. And as someone who has worked directly with the teams that are responsible for, ECOMI and the OMI token for the better part of the last year, I can say with confidence that the OMI token is a priority to, the management team, to the directorate level, to the community, and to us as the project, right? And I can say that, but I can also show it by showing, our results over the last 8 or 9 months or so, having exchange listings, adding utilities for the OMI token, moving on to base, dealing with these non-circulating supply tokens, which were creating issues with tracking, and people having confidence and security with kind of the future of the token. And it's just about cleaning up the direction that we're headed, and then, dedicating all those resources to move forward. So, Reese, obviously, I took Reese's role, so he would not be in a public facing role at this point. And so, if Reese ever wanted to come out and make a comment one way or another, that would certainly be his right as an individual. But as he would not be holding a public facing role currently, I just don't think it's my place to speak on his behalf. But as myself, as the community manager who is public facing, I take on that accountability and responsibility of any of the feedback or issues that are happening in the community, and I pass them along to the appropriate teams to make sure that they are actioned and considered, so that we can continue to work on providing the things that actually matter, which are the utilities, and making sure that OMI is getting the attention it deserves.
Okay, thanks, Foster. I'll let. I think I saw Doc's hand up there, so I'll let someone else let me know.
Mhm. Before we jump to Doc, Doc, I know you got your hand up, and I know you have your show soon, which is the after party, by the way, for everybody. We're gonna link that at the top. VeVe, OMI, my homie. I don't know if you want to say anything first because you did come up here first.
Well, yeah. First and foremost, shout out to all the OMI homies, including VeVe OMI homie. Look, I appreciate this kind of AMA and the ability to ask these questions publicly. I did have to have like a chuckle when you were talking about people don't believe that VeVe has a blockchain team. I just listened to a podcast where BlackRock's head of digital assets was asked about the digital assets team at BlackRock, and who was there, or what they were doing, and like it was kind of the same thing. Like he was like, "Yeah, we got a team of people." It was very general, right? Like he didn't disclose any of the names of the people who were on the team. So yeah, but I do believe actually that BlackRock has a digital assets team, even though I don't know who works there for them. Sorry, that was like a tangent. So the question I wanted to pose to you, Foster and Adam. Obviously, we've seen that recent tweet kind of about the circulating supply and removing those tokens that were in the vault. And the reserve wallets, and just getting them completely like off the books, like actually like removed or burned. But I did see a post where it looked like for a little bit there was on CoinGecko, it had showed that there was like 278 billion. Like it had gone from 271 billion to 278 billion, but now it's back at 271 billion. And this caused some people to be like, oh, like ECOMI at any time can put some tokens into the circulating supply. And so I don't know if you guys even saw that, if you were aware of it. Was it just like an API glitch or what that was? Yeah, if you even saw it.
I can jump in and answer this one. It's not an API glitch. It happens when the tokens were in the IMX rollup for withdrawal. And so for the last couple years, the supply fluctuates because when those tokens are in that bridge, they're not in a controlled wallet to be counted. And so this time it just stood out a little bit more because it was the final removal of all of the 8 billion that were on IMX, and it stays in that roll up for the withdrawal period, and then until the wallet removed them, which was last night. So it did the withdrawal of those tokens. The API corrected itself, and then that wallet did the final removal of all of the remaining tokens. So now that's just one less headache that we have to deal with that fluctuating value of tokens, which is actually was a problem going all the way back to June, I think, when there was a lot of tokens that were stuck in there, and then there was another big withdrawal. I think it was about 3 billion a few days ago, but now we've got all that behind us, and we don't have to deal with explaining to newcomers to the token what all that stuff means, because now it's gone forever.
So just to follow up in clarification to make sure that I understand. So when CoinGecko showed that there was 271 billion, and then it jumped to 278 billion.
Yep.
That was that the 271 was on was when it showed 271, it was because 8 billion was still held up in that kind of bridging status. And then once those were then bridged completely over, I'm guessing, to Base, or was it bridged over to ETH and then sent to the Burn wallet, or?
It bridges directly to the Burn wallet on layer 1. So when the tokens were on IMX, they're accounted for. So the API looked at the Burn wallet. So when they're in that in between, where they're in the roll up withdrawal back to layer 1, that's when they count in the supply.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Doc, too. Like, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I know that I had gotten a couple comments from the community, over the last month or so, because Adam had stated like the circulating supply was actually referencing closer to 274 billion for a little while there, because we had some issues with tokens being stuck in the roll up on the IMX bridge. And so it was actually accounting for a higher circulating supply than what existed. So, part of what we looked to highlight in the Medium article that we released, at the conclusion of these non-circulating supply tokens being removed is, I know a lot of people felt as though it was a non-story or didn't understand why we were, advertising this. But what people also don't realize is that, like, when they look at CoinMarketCap as an example, it shows up as a self-reported circulating supply because we've had issues with CoinMarketCap using our API because it was constantly fluctuating and they didn't understand what the difference was between in circulation versus out of circulation tokens. And so it became self-reporting, which lowered significantly the rank of the token on CoinMarketCap, but also produces results that are vastly different between CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. So now, depending on what platform that you use, you're getting, incorrect data. And that's the last thing we want. We want people to be able to, regardless of what source that they use, as long as they're using the API and the API has been brought up to date, that it's going to provide them consistent and accurate information. And, at some point in the next day or so, I will be putting up a following article as well, just to kind of let people know, the differences between the total supply of tokens, which, not to confuse people that are listening here, but is 750 billion tokens. That was the amount that was created in the Genesis wallet when the token was first minted. And then we have the max supply, which is 310 billion tokens, roughly, give or take 50 million. And then we have the circulating supply, which is roughly 270 billion. So when you're listening to all these things and you're hearing all of these numbers, people don't know, well, is the token fully diluted? Are those tokens up to 750 billion actually going to come into the circulating supply? Like, what's going on with these? Why is there a difference of 40 billion tokens roughly between the circulating supply and the total supply? And so we'll be looking to put out some clarification to really make it clear to people, the maximum circulating supply of the OMI token will never be more than 310 billion, 50 million, and some other smaller numbers that I'm just going to ignore as a rounding error because I can't find the number. But you have that. And then the 270 billion current circulating supply are any tokens that are not related to the business development wallet with ECOMI. So that's the difference between the 270 and the 310. But all of the tokens above the 310 up to the 750 billion are tokens that are out of the circulating supply and will never enter the circulating supply. And I actually had Adam put together a fun little document for me earlier today, and he actually concluded that the 97 billion tokens, which were inadvertently locked up when they were doing contracts back in, I believe, 2020. I originally thought that they unlocked in 18,000 years, but people will be very relieved to hear that they actually don't unlock for an average of 52,000 years. So if any of you were concerned you were still going to be around in 18,000 years to see those tokens again, rest assured they will not be unlocked for at least a little bit longer. So the maximum supply will be 310 billion. It will never be more than that. And we won't run into these issues with the incorrect reporting anymore because we don't have tokens that, are out of circulation versus in. So.
Awesome. Well, so I just want to, I've got to jump right for the show, which again, after this is all over, we got OMI is my homie, episode 22 on YouTube. But what I was going to say is, and I wish I could see your face as I was saying this, Foster, but I know that exchanges, they care about whether or not people actually know what the circulating supply is and that fluctuation and self-reporting and stuff. So now that that's cleared up, that's very positive for exchanges. So I'm just going to throw that out there, and I'm going to duck down now. Thanks, everyone.
I have no comment for that because that was an observation and not a question. But fair enough, sir. Fair enough.
Shout out to you, Doc. And once again, Doc's show is pinned up top, starting at 8 p.m. As soon as we're done here, can head over there. But please feel free to hit that subscribe on their show. It's really good. With him, Randy, and Crypto Rain usually. Cool Crypto Joe was next, and then we'll go to Pixel.
Hey, first of all, I just want to say that I appreciate the video, Foster, and because you put that video out, it just makes me relate to you a little bit more and trust you, and you're a good guy. But I have two questions, and this might have already been answered. I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to this stuff, despite my name. And also, you just call me by my first name, Joseph or Joe is fine. I'll put that out there. But first question is when the project initially started. From my understanding, when collectible was being released, it would burn OMI related to like how much uh, sold out. So if $40,000 worth of collectibles was sold out, $40,000 worth of OMI was burned. From my understanding, I don't know if that's still happening or not. And the second question is, um, I know that there were some games that were being released that utilized the OMI token, and I haven't heard a lot from that. But overall, how many projects are in development that are using are trying to implement the OMI token at the moment?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, nice to meet you, Joe. Thank you for coming up and asking your questions. So, in relation to the first question, the original tokenomics model that was, released for the project, a little bit complicated, but I'll give a very kind of brief overview. Cole's notes. So you had the vault, the reserve, and the burn wallet, and so. When a purchase happened in the primary market, a certain percentage of the OMI would move, or sorry, when gems were purchased, a certain amount of OMI would move from the vault to the reserve, and then someone would make a purchase using those gems, and then the OMI would move from the reserve to the burn wallet. And so all of that was only relevant because those tokens were always out of circulation tokens. That system only became relevant if the entirety of the vault and reserve was depleted, because a concept called buybacks would have been needed to, market buy OMI from the circulating supply to add it into those wallets to keep the system going. Now, I won't speak to the merits of the system. I think my opinion of them has potentially changed over time, but I'll kind of leave it with an observation. In the 2.5 years that system functioned, the buybacks would have on paper equated to 2.3 billion tokens. And we had indicated and are still planning to remove more than that, as the community is aware. A little bit over 5 billion tokens was the number that we had proposed. So we're still aware of the fact that the community is aware of that, and we certainly haven't forgotten. We're not trying to hide or skirt around the issue. It's just with things like OMI to NFT and everything else going on, we just want to make sure that we're dedicating as many resources as we can to the things that really benefit the community the most. So, you know, that system is obviously no longer needed because we don't have a vault, a reserve, or burn wallet, because when we removed all the non-circulating tokens, it wasn't needed. Now, the gem model, on VeVe still functions as such, but you just don't have the additional complexity in the back end of it being equated to the OMI price and what does the API say the OMI price is now, and then move the tokens from here to here and kind of all this kind of stuff. Now we just have a system wherein when people transact in OMI to NFT, there'll be a buyer's fee, and that buyer's fee will directly remove a percentage of the transaction directly from the circulating supply. So we don't need to kind of get involved in any way. It's user generated, which is beneficial for many reasons. And so that was the model that we're currently utilizing, and that is the first feature that we'll be removing OMI from the circulating supply. And then as for your second question, which for whatever reason has eluded me, can you please remind me again? Sorry.
It was well, I know that there was some games that were being worked on
Oh,
that utilized the OMI token, and just didn't know how many projects that were
yeah.
in development. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the ones that we've obviously publicly announced, are Epico, Regal, who have a marketplace where you can transact in the OMI token and purchase collectibles and do things of that nature. They actually had a drop during San Diego Comic Con that I actually picked up one of. It was like a David Yu exclusive bundle, and so I think those ship out in November. So if anyone else purchased one of those, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm super excited for that one. But outside of that, we also have Tengoku Senso. They are a hack and slash game, which will have a mechanic that involves the OMI token. And so they're currently still in production. I've played a couple of their beta levels. It's actually a pretty fun game for a hack and slash type game. And so, that has some incorporation. The Fiches had been working on some utilities with battles for the OMI token for a while as well. And then you have projects like VMate and Collective Shift, which offer rewards and benefits for users who are utilizing the OMI token by giving them discounts or access to features. And so now that we have the Stacker marketplace as well, there might also be some additional access to features or benefits for having your OMI and your Privy controlled wallet linked with Stacker. So we'll let them kind of touch on that, if and when that time comes. But outside of obviously the things that have been publicly announced, I unfortunately can't get too much into the weeds beyond that. But we also have some fantastic community driven utility. Emoji, announced on I believe it was Monday. His burn to listen project that he's been working on with Spotify and having streams and really trying to encourage that. So we also have some fantastic community members which have also been providing IRL utilities and things for the OMI token as well, whether it be at their shops or discounts on services and stuff. So we hope to only continue to expand those offerings as time goes on. But rest assured, there are certainly some utilities for the token, and we will only continue to add more over time.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Pixel, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me up here. I appreciate you guys hosting the space, and I think it's one of those things where usually they say no news is good news, but in crypto, no news means bad news, and people start to panic, right? So I think just showing yourself and just talking to us, even if it's the same questions, I think it's okay because you don't know who's new and you don't know who's been here a long time. But I had two quick things. Let me look. Oh, the first part was actually I guess a question or maybe more of a comment, because it's great to hear about, the changes, and I am part of the OMI to NFT beta group. That's been great to see and kind of playing with that stuff. And I think it'd be great to push out, I'm sure you guys already have already, but great to push out short, concise content for new people, because I feel like the elevator pitch for OMI and VeVe is great, but we don't really have that online. It's like you got to go with all these documents, and this is old. I mean, I have friends that have been in VeVe for like 2 years and OMI, and I'm having to explain things to them because they just can't, keep up or get into the weeds. And I thought they said this, and but then this, I'm like, no. It's just, it gets really confusing. So I think to bring in new people and to get in people excited, not everyone is used to reading white papers and tokenomics and comparing, data on the blockchain. They just want to short, sweet, concise. Here's what we are. Here's what it does. If you're excited, here's how you get involved. And that's it. And I think you guys are probably working on that. But that was just my first comment, is to make it really short and sweet and digestible. Because, like you said, we kind of live in an era of scrolling culture. Headline, top line, they're done, right? They're not going to read anything else. Most people aren't going to dig into the weeds. But anyways, that was kind of the first thing. Is I think you have a great product, and there's a lot of good stuff going on behind the scenes, but it doesn't really translate unless you're like really in the weeds all the time. So that was just the first comment, and I do believe you guys, can't already have that going on. But just for me, as as an outsider, when I'm talking to people or talking to friends, the easier, the more clean and simple it is. Talk to me like I'm 5 kind of thing, and then they're probably willing, to get involved in some level. The second piece, sorry, I'm out of breath. You guys caught me here mid-workout. The second piece was, I just want to see if you could touch up on accessibility, because I think the last couple of times we talked, you're saying that's a main priority. Accessibility, and just basically. And I know there's things you are working on, but if you could just say, to new people or people who haven't really been keeping in touch, what does that look like? Whether it's giving people more ways to get involved or sharing information, because I think for a lot of us before. They found OMI, through exchanges, and they got excited. They kind of came in from finding it somewhere. So exchanges is one piece of it, but as we end this year and go into the next year, if there's anything you can share, obviously not behind the scenes information, but if there's anything you share with people about how that's going or how the plan's going, or just kind of talk about that a little bit. I'm sure it's still a priority, but just anything really to share kind of moving forward on accessibility with OMI. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for the comment there, as well as the question. You can at least say that you tried to ask for insider information. I don't mind. I still won't give it to you, but I appreciate you taking the gracious route and saying that stuff that's publicly available. So based on your first observation, I do just want to touch on it quickly, because I think it is a very important point. I think making very digestible content in information streams is incredibly important. And I think, like you said, we live in a scrolling kind of era where if it doesn't catch your eye line, in the first half seconds or so, you've already moved on to the next thing. And so that's why I've really kind of, from my point, when I'm, speaking about features, OMI's now on base. I'm trying to come up with quirky ways to put out the information outside of me just sitting at a desk going, OMI is now on base. Go check it. Like, no one cares about that, right? Like, they want fun, they want entertainment. Oh wow, why is that fool running around the bases right now talking about a token? Like, what's going on, right? So making short, quick, digestible content to make it shareable, so that other people, your friends, they don't have 2 hours to learn about the OMI token. They have 2 minutes. So what can you tell them in 2 minutes to learn about the OMI token, or the VeVe Collectibles platform to make them want to use it? And I think that, that was something that I had seen with VeVe for a really long time, and something that I really liked was, it was so easy to download the VeVe platform, get someone signed up, and get them using the app, right? Like, you could literally do it in a minute and a half from beginning to end. And one click buy gems using your credit card linked with your app store, and hey, now you're up and running, you're in the marketplace, you're buying the collectibles that you want. Here's how you display them in AR. Super simple. And so one of the things that I always recognized, I consider myself a fairly analytical and data driven person, but the one thing that I always noticed as well with the OMI token is that it was quite complicated to understand, right? And maybe not complicated to understand if you had taken the couple weeks that it took to learn about it, but for the average person, it went right over their heads. So I think for us, throughout 2024 and coming into 2025 and beyond, what we're really looking to focus on is simplifying the system, simplifying the process. And a part of doing that is, and I touched on it earlier in the space, is rolling out features one at a time. Instead of saying, hey, these 17 things are coming, and people going, well, what's going on? Like, I don't understand this. How does this really? It just becomes very complicated. Roll things out a little bit at a time. Let people get familiar and comfortable with the process. That's also the reason that we, switched the OMI token over to base months before the OMI to NFT beta started, right? Like, let's get familiar with people with bridging. How do they get their OMI tokens onto base? What is the benefit with using base? Sell them on the benefit of using base, having it had nothing to do with OMI to NFT. It's easier for accessibility. It's cheaper on gas fees. It's linked directly to Coinbase. You can use fiat onboarding, like all of these things. And then you roll out OMI to NFT, and people go, okay, well, good. I already know how to use base because I hold all of my OMI on base now. And so because I hold all my OMI on base now I just need to learn how to use the Stacker marketplace. And so making it very simple, easy to digest. I know Stacker is going to be working hard on their marketing, and obviously we're going to be putting out a lot of information as OMI NFT goes out of private beta and becomes public for everyone. We're going to be putting out content all the time. We're going to be hosting spaces on the ECOMI Discord to let people know how to utilize the features. We're going to be hosting Twitter spaces. I'm going to be going on people's YouTube channels. We're going to be making fun clips. We're going to be rewarding people and potentially doing giveaways and all of these different things to really engage the user base, but also bring in new users, but make sure that when they come, it works, it functions as it's intended, and it's an enjoyable experience. Because you only have, one shot to make a good first impression, and if you blow that opportunity, then you've lost out on a potential customer forever. People that have been here for 2 or 3 years, they're lifers at this point. They've been through absolutely everything, and there is nothing that is going to shake them off or anything like that. But someone that's just learning about this for the first time, one of your friends who you're trying to tell about it, they'll give you 30 seconds, and if it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, they're on to the next thing. So it's about catering to both of those audiences and making sure that we have plans in place. And you did hit the nail on the head when you said, we do have some plans on how we're going to do that. But I think you were certainly right to flag that as something that should be a priority, because it absolutely should.
Yeah, and I want to add something there. I don't know how long you planned on doing this space for, but something that I don't see mentioned a whole lot is we still have a large amount of VeVe users that never bothered with OMI just because of the situation with OMI. It's been a couple of years of trying to build the features out, and a lot of people never saw any merit to involving themselves in that, or they may not even be crypto native users. Well, when OMI to NFT goes live, now all of those users have a direct way to get their very first OMI in a wallet that is already set up for them, abstracted, self custody, all of the good things. and they'll be able to do that seamlessly with just listing their first item for OMI on the OMI to NFT market. So we'll get a lot of new users in from that side, and then those are the ones specifically that would benefit from what you're asking, Pixel, is digestible information, short little instructional things, and making it fun. So everybody will start seeing all the pieces kind of come together.
Great point there. We do have VeVe, OMI, my homie. I hope you can talk now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Okay, my question is to Foster. Hopefully it's okay. My question is because I've been here since 2021, so I was just wondering, with OMI to NFT, kind of seems like it's happening kind of fast-ish now, and I was just wondering if, like has NFT, OMI to NFT, if it's been worked on all these years, or is it like because Stacker came along and saw the opportunity, and now we're moving fast. So I'm just wondering how that kind of came across. Like, did Stacker find you, or did you find Stacker? Yeah, that's my first question. And second, I just wanted to, because I would love to know how David you feels about the OMI token. Like when I saw him talk about it, I personally kind of felt like a little nervous when he ever brought it up. And seeing that you're like interacting with the man, I was just wondering, like, what's your sense of how he feels about the token? I mean, how, not how he feels, but how he makes you feel about it. Because, again, when it comes to NFTs, it's undeniable. Like his spirit, his enjoyment. Like you can have all that and not give away details. So I was just wondering, yeah, what do you? Yeah, that's my question. Anyway, thanks for having me. Bye.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. I'll answer your second question first. Obviously, I don't claim to speak for David on his own feelings about things, but based on the interactions that I have had with him, I've been very emboldened by the belief that the OMI token is incredibly important to him, and I know that sometimes it's difficult for the community to see that, especially when they're not communicating as much publicly about the things that they're working on. But um, you know, I would not have been able to put out the OMI priorities for 2024 document, or do a lot of work on exchanges, or work on OMI to NFT, which we'll get into in a moment, or anything else of that nature, without David's blessing. And, I talked to David quite regularly. I was actually talking to him a couple hours ago. And I'm always reassured when I speak with him. And I know, like, I struggle with saying stuff like this because when I say that, it's like, well, yeah, he's got to say that. He's the community manager. But like, I just want to remind everyone that, I was a community member for, the better part of 3 years before I took on this role. And I didn't go out looking for a job. I've always believed in the token, and I've always believed in the project. And so, when I got the role, I started to see behind the scenes how hard people actually work to make things come to fruition, and I also see a lot of the struggles and issues that come behind trying to evolve a company that's trying to navigate a regulatory framework that quite frankly doesn't exist for our largest user base, as well as a ton of other issues that come with trying to create a company in an industry that just quite frankly has never existed before. And so when I talk to David, I am very reassured about his belief in the OMI token, and obviously, his passion for collecting and for VeVe speaks for itself. But he is very cognizant and aware of the fact that one would not exist without the other, and I can say with 100% confidence and certainty that he has not forgotten about the users that have supported him and who have the OMI token. And so, you know. I'm a big fan of letting results speak for themselves, and I know that can be hard when things are not being communicated, especially from the man himself. But I think as we continue to roll out features and utilities and make the token more accessible, and people really understand kind of the bigger picture as all the pieces come together, they'll see that he, along with the company, has always believed in the token, and have wanted to make it the best utility token that exists out there. So sometimes we make moves and we lay the groundwork for things, and things that maybe aren't traditionally sexy or don't make perfect sense to people. Why are you removing non-circulating tokens? Who cares? Why are you going to base? It's not actually an exchange listing, and all of these kind of things. But I think as more of the pieces start to come together, I think people are going to go, oh, okay, I get it now. As for your first question, um, you know, trying to navigate a regulatory landscape that doesn't exist, trying to create an entire comprehensive utility program. The problem with releasing all of the information up front, which is what happened the first time, is that one, you have to pivot because regulations or development issues or anything else. Um, well, you've already made all your plans public. So now people are holding you to the intentions that you had behind your plans, which, to be fair to everyone is a completely fair assessment. But this is also why we've changed how we communicate, because we want people to be able to believe us when we say, hey, this is what we're doing, because our results speak to the fact that we're doing it. So, Stacker has been a platform that's existed for, 2.5, 3 years as an analytics platform, right? Like they weren't always a marketplace, but the conversations for Stacker as a marketplace began, kind of even before I joined the team, well into 2023. So this is something that's been, in the works for quite a while, and so. I know that there's some people that may feel that it's a super simple process and could be built in 2 weeks or whatever the case may be, but there are certainly a ton of moving parts that go into it. The ECOMI blockchain team works closely with VeVe to make sure that all the APIs, the calls, the smart contracts, everything works. They work closely with the Stacker team, and Stacker works really well with us on making sure that everything works very seamlessly. It's been a fantastic collaboration and has obviously borne a lot of fruit. But understand that when we were in a position of communicating this marketplace with OMI NFT and Stacker. It wasn't like the idea came up 2 weeks before the announcement came out, and now we're flying by the seat of our pants. This has been something that's been in the works for quite a while now. The same thing with the base announcement. Exchanges can sometimes be a year, 2 years plus in the works. So sometimes it feels like things can move very quickly, and sometimes they certainly do. But in other times, you really have to make sure that you're making all the correct moves so that you don't make any missteps, or that you're prepared and are future proofing the business and the token, just in case regulations that haven't even come out yet, or rules or potential issues that don't even exist yet, that you're thinking about absolutely everything, and then making the decisions to be able to have that longevity.
I think you covered it all. Anybody else with a question while I check the ones in the comments?
Yeah, while you're looking for that, I can expand just a little bit.
Please.
The 2023 was a huge year for blockchain, primarily Ethereum, with the build up to the Dean-Koon upgrade, which ended up getting delayed from November all the way up to March of this year. When Dean-Koon came across and the upgrade to the Ethereum network, that's when the meme coin mania went crazy on layer 2s because of what's called blob space, which made the transactions extremely inexpensive and brought in all that traction. We had been monitoring that whole situation for almost a year, and just looking at, like, when you're talking about things like roadmaps, like the team is always analyzing everything that's going on, whatever bills are being legislated, whatever regulations are getting passed in whatever jurisdictions. So looking at that, and then looking at the blockchain itself, waiting for a massive upgrade before any of this stuff could happen. So that gives the impression that, yeah, Stacker just came in right after Base got popular and made all this stuff happen. It's been in the plans for a very long time, and I'll say from my role, both teams work extremely well together, and I've only seen great things out of them. So it makes me even excited to see all the stuff we're going to be doing after this. And even though our communications are right now the next feature that's rolling out, that doesn't mean that one feature is all that's ever being worked on. There's a whole series of things that are being worked on parallel to each other, but going back to tying all of this together to make it easier to digest for everybody, it's best that we do whichever one's coming next. Is just my sentiment for it, and I think Foster would share that as well with what he discussed. But it doesn't always mean that's the only thing that's being worked on.
I thought for a moment I was going to have to mute you there, but you did all right. Yeah, you know,
I like to make you sweat. I got to make him nervous. Like, that's my
yeah,
job, right?
yeah. You know what I will say, you know, as a community manager who's responsible for communicating priorities, like I really wish that I could tell you guys like how difficult it is sometimes to just not be able to scream from the rooftops about, you know, features that we've worked on or changes that were, you know, are being made and things like that. But um you know, I operate within the confines of what is expected of me. And, you know, the communication strategy, you know, it has its pros and cons. You know, there's certainly a benefit to the surprise and delight, and you wake up one day and nothing is ever the same again. But, you know, there's also people that want that disclosure and transparency. So it's really about finding a balance. And I'm certainly not saying that we always do it perfectly, but, you know, I have a very strong team, multiple teams actually, of people behind me that enable me to be able to, you know, make these announcements and give some assurities at a semi-regular cadence to the community. And like I said, whether you believe what I say or not, whether you believe the company or not, the results are inevitably going to be the thing that speaks for themselves. And so, you know, would I have loved to accomplish a dozen more things this year? Absolutely. You always want to accomplish more. But at the same time, when you reflect back on what we've done so far this year, and I reflect forward on kind of what our plans are for the rest of 2024 and beyond, you know, I am confident that I will be able to look back and say that 2024 from a development standpoint was the most successful year for OMI, and I hope that we can continue to piggyback on that, you know, through 2025 and beyond. Because, you know, once we've designed the features and rolled out, you know, all the utilities and things like that's when the real fun begins, because then it's here, right? Like once you've developed it, now you can utilize it, and that's the fun stuff. So it's just about making sure that we can roll out the features, developing them as best as we can to make sure that they are easy to understand, that they're enjoyable, and that people will want to utilize them. And then once people start to utilize them, the snowballs start rolling down the hill, and it'll just keep getting bigger and building that momentum. So
Amazing. Dave, you're here. Go ahead, please.
Yo, what's up, guys? I've just been kind of like listening, just intently in the background. Foster, what's good? Puddin, what's happening? Millie, Superstar Money, Emoji, Pixel, everybody. So I guess I just kind of wanted to just maybe reaffirm two things, because I'm still doing the homework on this. I haven't had the time yet, like, to actually do the deep dive on like what the burn actually means. So I've just been kind of listening, and I think you guys are doing a good job explaining. I can definitely back Puddin Cheeks up on the whole things have been in the works for a minute in regards to Stacker, because I can tell y'all for a fact I saw the original Stacker plan before it was even Stacker, probably 18 months ago. So that I can definitely confirm. This shit's been in the works for a minute. Yeah. And also to what Foster actually said earlier, where it's like when you mentioned, like, you're not spending any of this stuff until you see further utility, right? To where you deem like, this is where I feel comfortable. And I think that is something that might have gone overlooked by a lot of people. And I think people need to understand that is like, everyone has to make kind of like their own decision. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to back you up on that one, where it's like, when I feel the utility is there for this, that's when I'll, like, for your tickets or whatever, like, that's when I'm going to make that call. But I did have one question. It's not about tokenomics. I'm going to go back and do my own homework. But are there any license holders, Foster or Puddin, or anybody that can maybe fill me in? Are there any license holders currently on the app, right? Like bigger license holders, not independent ones, that currently hold either the OMI token or have commented on the OMI token or anything like that, Foster, that you can maybe share with us by any chance?
I mean, I wouldn't be involved in those conversations. Those would be a high level conversation, probably taking place with David or Dan. But to be honest, you know, even if it was something that I had knowledge of, you know, I wouldn't, out of respect, comment on it one way or another. But I will say I don't have knowledge of that one way or another. So, you know, it's an interesting question. Honestly, it's the first time I've ever been asked that or come across it. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, David works in mysterious ways, and I always find myself flabbergasted every time he, you know, announces a new brand IP or licensor. And it seems like, you know, things used to used to be announced, and it was like this 2 week run up and whatever, and every new brand that came on, it was like, oh my goodness. And now it's like, hey, we're just gonna casually drop Maserati at like 11 o'clock at night, and it's like, what the heck just happened? Right? So well, it wouldn't surprise me if the licensors were certainly aware of the token, because those are obviously the conversations that happen when it comes to the OMI NFT marketplace, and allowing their collectibles to be traded. Whether or not the licensors themselves hold tokens would be at a level above my pay grade. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to more of these spaces to maybe take like deeper dives. And I like the fact that you guys are trying to simplify this for everybody to really understand. I think that's a really really important piece. I feel like that's what me and Millie been trying to do for the last 3.5 fucking years out here, just in general crypto. So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, I'm gonna do my homework, and I'll come back for the next community update, and hopefully I'll have some more questions for you guys. But appreciate you holding the space, man. Thanks, guys.
thanks, Dave. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your question. It's interesting because this is obviously something that I've just started to do recently, and it's not, it's a Q&A, right? Like, it's AMA Q&A. I mean, it's really all transferable, but it's not to announce a new feature or a new utility, but it is very important. And shout out to my collectibles. He does his weekly recaps on the VeVe side. There tends to be more to speak about on the VeVe side, just because they're doing drops and things on a weekly basis. So there's generally things to update on a weekly basis. But I think that, like you mentioned, spaces like this are very important, because they allow the community to ask questions or get clarifications about things that maybe are not clear to them. But then it also signals back to us, where we can improve or get more information out on, or whatever the case may be. So I'm definitely going to look to hold these on a more regular cadence. It'll probably be monthly, not the same day every month, but I'll also look to hold them on the ECOMI Discord. Obviously, we have an official Discord channel there as well, that has a few thousand people in it. So we'll look to give them some love as well. Also potentially doing YouTube streams as well. But I'm always available too, right? Like, content creators have reached out to me. I've been on their channels, answering questions. I'm obviously on socials, all day, every day, answering people's questions if they ever have anything. But I think one of the things, Pixel kind of alluded to it earlier, is like, you need to have everything kind of in one space, or make it easily digestible, because people can't be going to 8 different spaces. And hey, Foster was on Omi's My Homie podcast last week and said this, and then he did a Twitter space and he said like, it's just, when information's all over the place, people that are not the hardcore people that are, shout out to a lot of them that are in this chat now, you need that information easily digestible. And a part of that is simplifying how the OMI token is utilized, how it's accessed, and how we're building it out moving forward. And then it makes the communication very simple. So that's a priority for us as we continue to work throughout the rest of the year. But certainly communicating about things, and having that transparency, and letting people know that the team has not forgotten about OMI. We continue to work very hard to develop it, and to give updates where we can about where we're at with each of those features.
I think that might be it, and, unless you had some other points, Foster. Just some stuff you want to get into, and you said you might slide a little alpha to us, and I don't think we've really gotten any.
Did I say that? Did I? Oh my gosh, way to put me on the spot on that one.
If I need to leave the space so Foster can talk freely, kick me out.
Listen, those shorts don't make you the boss of anyone, buddy. What I will say is, as we look to develop features, as Adam made a point to mention, features are developed concurrently, right? They're developed at the same time as other things. We're not just developing a feature and then going, maybe we'll work on the next one in 18 months. Like, we're kind of hitting a more regular cadence about how we can deliver on things, and then having the Stacker team collaborating with us, as Adam indicated, their team has been fantastic at working with our team, and that's really helped us, on the development side, push things forward. And I know that Stacker has kind of their own roadmap, and things that they're looking to push forward with the OMI token. And obviously, I'll allow them to kind of speak on that when the time comes. Obviously, it'll be, mostly a joint effort there, but don't want to steal any of their thunder either. But, we're aware of the fact that it's been a long journey, and people have really been looking to see that utility for the OMI token, and start taking advantage of those utilities. And when I look at the ecosystem as a whole, it needs to be very simplistic from beginning to end. And that starts from your onboarding experience, how you're acquiring OMI, whether it be through a swap on the Stacker platform, whether it be through an exchange, or whether you're even using something like a fiat onboarding option, which may come at some point, where you can actually buy OMI directly with a credit card or other payment provider option, all the way to how you store the OMI token and how do we ensure that you have that security and peace of mind. Having that self custody to know that you control the keys and you decide what happens with your tokens, all the way through how the token is transacted and utilized on the Stacker marketplace. Is it clear for people which collectibles are available for them to transact in OMI? Are there benefits or rewards to using the OMI token? And so these are all considerations that obviously, as David kind of mentioned, and as Adam can attest to as well, have been in the works for a long time. So, it may not always seem like it because we don't always communicate it simply because we're just not allowed to. But there is method to the madness, and there's certainly a plan behind the scenes. And days like today, when we can announce the removal of the entire non-circulating supply from existence forever, marks very important moments for me and for the community when we can see that the next iteration will be tokens being removed directly from the circulating supply. And of course, that has already started in the Stacker beta, and I think some people have already discovered the wallet from that. But we are officially removing tokens from the circulating supply when it comes to OMI, and so as that system ramps up, we anticipate it to only continue to grow and see more utility and use case behind it. And there's other things that'll come for the OMI token as we go throughout time. But I like to keep people on the edge of their seats, and I know Adam is probably nervous about what I'm going to say next. So I'll return the favor and let him sweat a bit, and give a huge shout out to I think we averaged over 150 people in the space for the entire hour and a half that we did it. So it's always incredible to see on a weeknight so much of the community come through. I see a lot of content creators. Personalities and just people that have been in the community for a long time supporting us. I see a lot of red circles, and it really puts a smile on my face, and it warms my heart to see that we have such an engaged and committed community. So I look forward to continuing to roll out those updates and giving people a reason to celebrate all the faith that they've put in us throughout the years. So Millie, thanks for hooking us up again with the space and the co-host. Always appreciate your help. Adam, thank you for answering the technical questions that are too complicated for a man like myself to muster. And to the community, once again, thank you so much, because we would not be sitting here having this conversation if it wasn't for you. So until the next one, I love you guys. And O'Milly, if you want to play us out.
Yes, I got you. And real quick, Emoji, just tell us what's happening Saturday again, because a lot of people weren't in the space the other day.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yep.
Yeah, so this Saturday we will be world premiering the new single. This is going to be the Listen to Burn single. Is going to be streaming everywhere. So anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Deezer, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere where you can find music online. Those royalties, 50% of them will be going to burning OMI, and this is an ongoing project. I got other artists too that are interested. Shout out Non Fungible, I see him in the building. So we're gonna try and make this a little lit for you guys, so we can make OMI burning fun. But yes, definitely come through Saturday. It's gonna be DJ Edie, for those that know. That's OBL's mom, Orange Bag Lady, who's also in the building. Her mother, I did make the post, so just make sure to give her a follow. It's gonna be 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's gonna be running a set and then world premiering the song. But the song does drop October 3rd, so you can pre-order that now or pre-save it now, because that does help with playlist placement when it does drop. So that can help to kind of like get more visibility to the song if you do that in advance.
Awesome. And like Foster said earlier, the power of community. You never know what the hell this community is going to come up with to also help with the token and all that. So I cannot wait to see more. Speaking of my guy Non-Fungible, we will close with his song, just like we started. Let's go. Oops, I should turn my speaker on actually. And this has nothing to do with Foster Puddin Cheeks. This is just me as a guy who's on spaces all the time, especially through the bear. A lot of photos going around. I stuck around in spaces. I did what I could. If there's anybody with a suit on in the other listeners, the hidden listeners from the top of the food table in VeVe, have this same thing happen on the VeVe side, because this is really, really important for the OMI homies. And we don't even have to get that much information. Just to hear things is really cool. I hope you guys take it seriously and do that for the VeVe side, because I'm just an idiot on Spaces. I cannot help with what the people need.